Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, everybody. How are you on this great Wednesday evening? How is everybody? How is everybody doing on this evening? Chime in and let me know. Hey, Crystal, I see you. How are you? BJ, how are you doing, man? So for those of you who are joining, tonight's episode of Dialogues with Doc is going to be so amazing. But of course, before I jump into this thing, I always start in with a check-in of how is everybody doing? How are you? Where are you watching from? If you're watching, this is your first time, thank you for joining. If you're watching again, thank you again for joining me. on this week, as each and every week, I try to do a different dialogue / conversation about a host of various topics. So depending on what's driving in the thought patterns of my head determines what we talk about each and every week. So I started this thing about 4 weeks ago. So I'm so excited to be doing this thing again on this Wednesday evening with you guys. So thank you for sharing with me. Thank you guys for chiming in. Thank you guys for just watching faithfully. Thank you guys for supporting, period. BJ DC is in the building. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for joining. Once again, if you're just now tuning in or if you're watching, please shout out where you are watching from. I want to make sure that I thank everybody and that I gladly shout out where you are watching from. So if you're watching and this is your first time, please do me a favor and drop in the chat where you are watching from. Can you guys hear me good? Can you guys hear me clearly? If not, please let me know in the comments as well. I think I got it fixed this week. Last week we had a couple technical difficulties, but I think I got it good this week. So if you guys can hear me, type yes in the comment section for me. Let me see. Let me click a couple things here. Give me 1 second. Got it. So again, if you are watching, this is your first time, shout out where you're watching from. I want to make sure that I thank each and every one of you and that I shout you out. Again, this is Dialogues with Doc. I'm Dr. Calvin Green, and this is my brainchild. Basically, every week, I just like talking about different topics from a various spectrum of areas in my head. Hey, David, I see you, man. Thank you so much for joining on this evening. I appreciate you. So each and every week we talk about different things. So the first week we talked about the importance of your dash. I'm gonna give you the quick rundown of what we talked about so far. The first week we talked about the importance of your dash. You have a birth date and you have an end date. So what's important is what you do with the dash in between. That was week 1. Then the week after that, we talked about mental health. So we talked about different avenues and different spectrums of mental health from a bunch of different areas. So we talked about that the next week. Then another week, we talked about the power of social media. Had a great creative architect on the line to share with us, you know, some good and some bad things and some ugly things about social media and some ways that we can utilize it more effectively and more efficiently. Then we talked about Black male educators. We had some Black male educators on the show 1 week. We had a really good in-depth conversation about just being a Black male educator in general, and then especially being a Black male educator in the space of virtual learning. So we talked about that, talked about some different plateaus and things that we've overcome and that we've experienced as Black male educators, and that was great as well. And then last week, we talked about parenting in a pandemic. So last week I had some amazing guests who were on. Marcus, I see you. I appreciate you joining me, man. And BJ's on as well. So last week we talked about parenting in a pandemic. And so what I basically wanted to do with that show was just basically talk about how hard is it parenting in the midst of a global pandemic. So a lot of good comments and feedback were given on last week. A lot of parents were able to realize that we're not okay, and I'm not the only one that's not okay. So they were able to share their thoughts and their ideas of some things that they've done across the board as far as virtual learning in their home spaces to better support their scholars. So we were so excited to have them on last week. Hey, good brother, I see you, man. Thank you for joining. So this week topic is none other. It's no different than the rest. I try to come up with a different topic every week to just talk about some real life issues and some real life things. So this week's topic is the game of life. So this week we're going to talk about the game of life. And of course, you guys already know I like to start off each week with a dialogue activator. So our dialogue activator for this week is, what were some of your favorite games growing up? So have a flashback moment, if you will. And if you're watching for me, put in the chat what's your favorite game was growing up. So think about it. Take you a minute or two and think about what that favorite game was, and put that in the chat for me. Was it hopscotch? Was it? I grew up in the hood, so was it curveball? Anybody remember curveball besides me? Was it board games? Was it just playing basketball at the neighborhood rec center? What was your favorite game growing up? So I'm looking for some comments to pop up on the screen so I can share out and just have a flashback moment to kick off this week's topic, the game of life. What were some of your favorite games growing up? Marcus, I see you. Sorry, Monopoly, Gin Rummy. I can't type, but if I could, I would say pity pat. You know, I was learning how to gamble early on with my aunt Sugar. She teaches how to play pity pat with her and my grandma. So pity pat was my game. But I definitely remember Sorry. I definitely remember Monopoly. If you grew up in a black family, you learn how to play spades early on. Gin Rummy as well. Give me some other ones, guys. What were some of your favorite games growing up? What were some of your favorite games growing up? A little double dutch, just a little bit. Loop, 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 loop. You know, my hand-eye coordination wasn't that good, Marcus, growing up, so I couldn't double dutch like the rest of the kids in the neighborhood. But I tried it, you know. Jay say checkers. I remember checkers as well. You know, you get what else we got out there? Marcus, you roll dice. Uno, I got you. Uno, we rolled dice. We played double dutch, checkers, chess, Sorry, gin, rummy. Sometimes I'm not gonna even lie to you. I grew up an only child, so I learned how to play solitaire early on. You know, when my mama would leave the house and leave her cards out, sometimes I would learn after watching her for so long, I would learn how to play solitaire myself. So I played solitaire too. But, you know, there's just a bunch of different games that we had that we learned to grow and that we learned to love growing up. Well, one of my favorite games, honestly, was the Game of Life. And the Game of Life was like one of my bomb games that I learned how to play growing up. But Margaret said my mama taught me how to roll dice, dominoes, all the good stuff. But one of my favorite games, guys, was the Game of Life. And although I don't think I ever made it to the end of the Game of Life, it grew to be one of my favorite games, one of my favorite board games just to play. So when I was doing my thinking and doing my research on tonight, I said, you know, I want to do a show on or have a conversation / dialogue on the Game of Life. Life is, we are in a different space in each of our lives right now because of COVID, because of the social injustices that are happening around us in our neighborhoods, because of what's going on in the educational system. My God, because of what's going on in our world and people knowing about the COVID and writing it in their tell-all books that are coming out this week, so they knew about it but didn't do anything about it. So, you know, our lives are just in a different space right now. And even how we interact and how we move and deal with people in this space right now, this thing called life is very important as well. So when I was thinking about a topic for tonight, I wanted to talk about the Game of Life and just look at it from different lenses and from just some of the conversations that I've been having recently with different individuals, with different friends, with different fraternity brothers, with just different people. And we're just all at different spaces in our lives at this point because of all that's going on. And we're just really in spaces where we are just doing a lot of thinking and reflecting and comparing and thinking of different ways to spice up our lives, to do better. And honestly, I feel like because of this pandemic, we just didn't have the time to sit back, to think, to reflect, to just be intentional about all that we do, about all of the people that we interact with, about all the things that are actually going on in our lives for whatever reason. So tonight we're talking about the Game of Life. So I came up with the topic. I asked an amazing young lady to join me in this conversation. So I'm so excited to have her on tonight. And she's a great thought partner. She definitely keeps it real. She definitely has a lot to say, and it's not in a manner or a fashion in which it's offensive. What she says has power behind it. The way she looks at different things and the way she internalizes and the way she interprets things is just great. And it's just amazing to watch her and to know her up until this very point, to just see how she's just progressing and how she's just doing her thing. So, you know, when I do certain things, I like to be very intentional about what I do. So this Game of Life thing is what we're going to talk about on tonight. Give me 1 second. Marcus took me back with the dominoes and the dice. I'm just saying, bro, I love you, man. But the fact that you put my mama taught me how to roll dice lets me know there was never a dull moment in that house. Give me 1 second to click on something. All right. So yeah, this Game of Life. The Game of Life was just a hard game to maneuver. And it was a hard board game to maneuver for me. And I think about life now in general, about how we just go through certain things and certain trials and certain tribulations and certain challenges. And sometimes this thing can just be hard to navigate. And there's just so many different arrows coming at you from whatever angle you're looking at. So we're going to talk about life tonight. We're going to talk about life. We're going to have a good time talking about it. We're going to look at it from different perspectives. We're going to look at it from different angles. And we're going to just have a great dialogue and conversation. And as you guys know how it already goes, chime in, put your comments in the chat. I like to highlight what you guys are saying because it makes the conversation and the dialogue, it's making the conversation and the dialogue a whole lot more refreshing. Hold on for me for 1 second. Hold on. I'm trying to get my guest on, guys. Hold on. Hold on. She's coming. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Trying to get her on now. Wait a minute. Give me. Got it. All right, guys. She's about to log on. Give her 1 second. So yeah, life. Remember the movie Life with Martin and Eddie Murphy? Yeah, we're going to talk about life tonight, guys. So thank you guys so much for being patient. Thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you guys so much for just listening to me talk each and every week. It definitely has been a journey. It's been a great journey. I'm so glad to be on this with you guys. But I'm going to bring on my amazing guest on tonight. Of course, I can't bring her on without bringing her on the right way. So give me 1 second to get it set up for her. You guys know how we do it on Dialogues with Doc. I got to give her a round of applause because she's coming to the stage and coming to hang out with your boy on tonight. I'm so excited to have none other than the amazing, the beautiful, the oh so talented. Yo, this is me and this one go way back.
Yes.
Go way back. Dr. Brianna Parker, welcome to Dialogues with Doc. How are you, my sister?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing amazing. I'm doing so amazing. Thank you so much for joining me on tonight for this. We're just gonna have a little talk, and Jesus may come in here while we talking, and that's all right. But we're just gonna have a little talk, like we always have talks and conversations about random topics.
No food. We ain't got no food this time.
I know, right? I'm
a little chicken in here or something, just to make it feel like normal.
Like normal. We need some food, something to go with it. But you know what? Yeah. When you come back to DC, I got you. I'm gonna take you somewhere, and I know you will be back this way very, 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 very soon. So, Bree, do me a favor. Tell the people about you and who you are before we kick this thing off. So who is Dr. Reverend Brianna K. Parker?
Man, I'm a little girl from Dallas, Texas. That's where Calvin is from.
You better know it.
And so, look, I'm just your Southern girl who's been around to a couple places. I lived in Michigan, Arizona, all kind of crazy places. So I come with different cultural understanding and experiences. Oh, look, there go my pastor. You see my pastor commenting?
That's still my pastor. I'm just up here in DC.
No. You got to stay where you are now.
You got to stay where you are.
Okay, I'm gonna let you come on, still be a member. But yeah, so I'm a preacher. I've worked in churches for decades now. I worked at a church previously before starting my own company for 10 years, almost 9 years and 7 months. And I kind of took experiences from everywhere. So I had I don't say this to stunt. I got a reason, but I have a bachelor's in political science. I have a MDiv with a concentration in pastoral counseling, caring counseling. I have a Master of Arts in Church State Studies, and then a DMin And so I say that because it felt like all of this was for no reason, and it wasn't making me no money. Money. I'm sorry. So it wasn't making me any money, and it just felt really like wasteful at some point. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I think many of us, especially if you're not like a medical doctor or something, you know, we've been to the place where we had to wonder at some point, like, am I doing the wrong thing? Like, I have friends, I'll never forget what I was making at the church with the Master of Divinity. That is only comparable to a law degree, except we have one less internship kind of experience, field experience than lawyers. What I was making there, I'll never forget. My friend made working in the hotel business straight out of high school.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Wow. And it's what you're saying, Bree, ties into the title. Like, we're talking about the game of life, and you just never know what life is going to throw at you, especially now being in the midst of this global pandemic that someone knew about but downplayed it, and it's all on the news today. But I'm gonna stay because you my guest tonight. I'm gonna stay.
We can go either way. Okay.
See, that's why I love you.
Okay.
I think that it's crazy how well, you know what, I'm gonna just let's do it like this.
Okay.
You started talking about how you went through this and went for that. So I'm gonna start the conversation. I want to start off light, but since you went there already, I'm gonna pose this question and get your input. So, itinerary versus destiny. Some people get the two mixed up. So, looking at the road we travel or endure versus where we actually end up. So, talk to the people tonight about this thing of itinerary versus destiny, not getting the two mixed up. I'm here for this season, or I'm here for this reason, but this is not where I'm supposed to end up.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Like, I think when we're unhappy with stuff, I just finished a Bible study with the church, and we were kind of talking about this.
See, look at God.
I think when we're unhappy with stuff, you know, we say stuff like, oh, this is my season, I'm just here for a season. We start to like spiritualize stuff, right? But the truth is, I think when it's God-led, we don't always know how it's going to come together. I mean, what I did not expect to do is own a research and consulting company, like at all, okay? And I actually thought that I was supposed to have, you know, the preacher's life. You work in a church for a while, and then you pastor your own church, and, you know, you teach at the collegiate level, maybe. You know, you try to impact communities, you know, maybe you hit the road real good, you know, but that's it. Like, and for someone who is really ambitious, when you're in ministry, you can't have the same kind of ambitions, right? Like, it's one thing for a lawyer to be ambitious, for a preacher to be ambitious is kind of shunned.
Right.
So when I went to school for political science, I thought I was going to be a lawyer. Like, that was not any, like, me trying to arrange things so that I thought I was going to go be a lawyer. When other people was out there watching cartoons, I was watching Matlock. I thought I was preparing. No lie. I'm not even lying. I spent my life thinking I was going to be a lawyer.
Matlock with the white suit in the courtroom.
Baby, you know, Matlock could get it. You hear me? He would be in there, and listen, if it's anything to be found out, Matlock was going to get the tea. Okay? He was going to get that tea every time.
Listen, Matlock was that dude, though. I'm not going to downplay him.
That just threw me off.
Andy Griffith was. I didn't go with Andy Griffith, Matlock. Okay, let me stop. Okay. So
no. See, look at his path. He went from Andy Griffith to a hot shot lawyer.
Y'all, and don't y'all. This is us all the time. Like we do this. Like, this is just like we really are having a real conversation that somebody, Jory said, you giving him all the life he needs right now. the thing about it, though, Bree, is this itinerary and destiny. I had to check myself because I thought that I was in this space that, you know, you know, I'm not gonna lie, when I was an undergrad at Paul Quinn, I was a business major. I was going to have my own business. There was nothing that you couldn't tell me otherwise. I had a whole business plan written out. I had, you know, I had several business plans in my head, but one in my hand. And then something happened where 15 years later, because I just started again last week, I'm in education. I had no idea that I would end up being in education because my thing was I'm going to have my own business. I want to be in Forbes. I want to have my picture, you know, with all the little stuff by it. But that was on my itinerary. That wasn't my destiny. I had no idea.
But it was for being a bachelor, an eligible bachelor. Remember that? And when I met you, you were in education. I remember how I met you. I left my job and went up to hang with, I think, Beamer and Purvey. And by the way, everybody. And I remember, I think Purvey was like, you ever met my boy Calvin?
Oh, Robin.
And I was like, no. And he's like, oh, he the dean over at, where were you at? Wiley? Where were you?
Texas College.
Yeah, he the dean over there. And I was like, okay, dean, he cute, you know? And, and he was like, yeah, you got to go talk to him. I was like, now you're going too far. I think I had a boyfriend at that time. He was just being real dramatic.
Yeah, Robert tried to set me up for the okie doke.
Okay, all the time, over and over and over again. And then I remember that day we started talking because I was at Paul Quinn by then already. I think as their chaplain.
Yep.
And that's how we became friends. But I've only known you in education. That's wild. And I've known you for
at least over 10 years, Brie.
Yeah.
Because that was
I wouldn't even know your initial dream. That's crazy.
That's crazy. And that was my 09 to 2012 dream. Like I was only there for 3 years. So I'm looking at this itinerary versus destiny thing. Like that was on my itinerary, but my destiny, I hate to sound cliche, it's like Destiny's Child, but my destiny still hasn't been fulfilled. Your destiny still hasn't been fulfilled. We're still on the track towards it, and we can't get sidetracked by what we're going through right now or what's on our itinerary, because our destiny, we haven't even tapped into that yet. We haven't even tapped into the potential or scraped the surface of it. And for you to even just share your journey, you were at a church working tirelessly and wasn't making nothing, and then and that was on your itinerary, and your destiny was for you to start your own business and do all this research that you know was going to become so impactful.
I had no idea.
You're doing the thing now. So tell us about the research that you like. Yeah, tell us about this, because this is the real deal, y'all. Like, listen to what she's about to drop.
This is wild because first of all, I used to pray literally at night, dear God, please don't ever call me to start a church. So I didn't start a church, but I started a business. But either way, I didn't want to have to start anything. That was my prayer consistently. You hear me? And I think I was praying against it because I knew it was destined to be. You know? And it took a second because it took me starting my own company, and I'll tell you how that started, to realize my dad was an entrepreneur. He worked as a truck driver and then owned his own big and small construction company on the side. And my mother, back in the day, she was a cosmetology instructor, and then she opened her own salon. It was called Genesis, and it was by Wet and Wild. So I actually come from two entrepreneurs, and I never even thought of it that way. So what happened was, let me be very honest.
He was running. Go ahead.
Yes, seriously. So 2013, my sister dies in March. 2 months from the day I eulogized her, I got into a near fatal car accident, and I was less than 2 inches away from decapitation. And I was literally on bed rest for 3 months. And on my sick bed, I heard God say, if I remember correctly, 2 things. One was buy a house. That's the one I'm going to say. And the other was to go to school. So now listen to this. I was in a PhD program at Baylor. I'm studying church state studies, all hopes of getting a PhD. I'm there on a full ride. We're going to start journalism classes because I really want to be an expert commentator for CNN or MSNBC. And they agreed. So they were going to put me in journalism classes. And I was sitting there in the emergency room talking to my then boss, Freddie Haynes. And he says, because it's obvious something is wrong, right? After this accident and something has changed, and I'm probably not gonna be able to make a 3-hour drive. I have permanent spinal damage. And so he said, consider, VUU, Virginia Union. You never been to a black college. You haven't been to a HBCU. You ain't got no HBCU street cred. Consider it. And
you gotta have a street cred.
Yeah. But I'm like, that's cute, but I'm not called no D-man. I'm called to a PhD. And he's like, I got a D-man. I'm like, like, good for you, sir. And on my sick bed, my bed of affliction, I say buy a house and go to VU. And so it was past the deadline. I said yes, So I text Pastor Haynes. I'm like, hey, you think it's too late for me to go to VU? He's like, no, I'm on call. I get up, I go see these homes. The first home I see 3 other homes after that. I end up buying the first home I see. You'll understand this. Anybody in Dallas will understand this. I now live in Mansfield in a 5-bedroom home with 4 bathrooms and a game room for under $200,000. That was God telling me to get up off my bed, because that don't happen in Mansfield.
Don't happen.
That's unreal. And so I send a nice message. Hi, I would like to apply. They said, hey, thanks so much, but it's over. We've already accepted our applicants and da-da-da. And so I tell Pastor Haynes, he's like, hold on. He has to get Jeremiah Wright to call. He interrupts Dean Kinney, the rock star, Dean John W. Kinney, at Hampton, like trying to get me in, right? And then like, you got to get her in or you're really going to be disappointed. And so I get in this program and I just kind of stumble upon this project because we have to do an experience that let me just start running around this living room. We have to do an experience or practical project, right? That's going to benefit our context. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a discipleship program for Black millennials. Let's do it. Friendship West, majority of the church is under 40. Let's go. There. So my director says you can do it, but first you have to get all the research. You got to find data to support your curriculum. And I'm like, okay, I have no problem with that. I got no problem. So I try to do this. And then I realize there's no data. So I look at Barna. They got good data on white evangelicals. You know what I mean? I look at Pew, white evangelicals, but I'm not finding what I need for Black people. And so I'm naive enough to say, it's fine. I'll create my own data. Dumb. So, right, I act like it's nothing. So I call up my friend. If you're from Dallas, you may know Adria Tolliver. And she is a PhD and she does social sciences and research and stuff. So I'm like, hey, can you supervise my project so I can make sure that it's legit? She says yes. She makes me actually analyze my own data. She teaches me data analysis, and all this other stuff. So honestly, I was naive, maybe a little arrogant, to be like, I'll just get my own. And so once I start to do the work, people start to call me like, hey, don't forget to ask about what Black millennials think about money. Hey, don't forget to ask about, now that I know what it really means to do research, I should have asked them for $25,000 to speak into my work. Okay.
Come on.
I didn't know that then. And so I started doing this. I think I do my first lecture and people start asking me to lecture more. And I'm like, okay. Then they asked me to facilitate training. And I'm like, okay. And then too much money was being, and so I didn't want the feds coming. So I create the Black Millennial Cafe to accept money. Literally, that's the only reason. Not because I'm not trying to push nothing. Okay. So I create the Black Millennial Cafe. It's technically an LLC and a social media page. That's all it is. And a place for them Sundays chicks. I didn't have no vision for it, no nothing. Okay. And so I decided to go into that, see how things are going. And then somebody says, can you consult for us? And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And it's like, well, help us to do this, this, and that. I'm like, okay. So I have this rule in business that is not the normal rule. There has to be a demand and then I supply. I only fill deficits. That's all I do.
That's all
I do. When people start putting out them flyers talking about some motivational speaking, just call me. If ain't nobody asked you to motivationally speak to nothing, then why you put out no flyers? So I have to be asked something multiple times before I make it a service. Okay, so that's just a nugget. And I remember I used to be like, yeah, I'm they're like, what is BMC? I'm like, it's a consulting and research firm. They were like, oh, okay. And everybody thought I was only going to do it until I picked up another job after Friendship West. Nobody thought it was real. They would have laughed me out of room. And I mean, I think people just tried me over and over and over again. And it just flourished. And finally, I started making these decisions. And there may be some people who are watching, and you know what this is like. When you have to choose the thing you feel like you're called to versus the thing that's paying your bills.
Right.
And you got to make a real decision. And there would be some months where I would make like $10,000 in a month between, working, my own stuff and not including any of my real checks. And I'm like, why am I working this job? And so I was the professor of religion at Jarvis. And it'd be time to do meetings. I had other stuff I, had on the books and stuff. And I knew that at some point I was going to have to make a choice. And I knew I was going to choose my work.
Your baby.
And I knew but I knew there would be Black young lives on the line who would be left without a professor. And so over the summer, they wanted us to add some more stuff to our responsibilities. And I was like, I can't add nothing else. Like,
I'm not going to abort my baby. I've birthed this thing and it's taken off. And you simply had a thought in a part of this itinerary that has now led you to working on your destiny, because you would have never thought that this Black Millennial Cafe thing would rise up like this, and that people would be pulling on you left and right. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little offended because this whole Black Millennial thing, I had it all wrong. So I want to apologize to you, because I'm walking around repping Black Millennial, and I'm not even a millennial. I found out today. I'm doing my little research and found that I'm born in 1980, so I missed the cut by a year.
You did, by one year.
I'm sitting there talking about I'm a millennial and I'm 40 now, and I don't even qualify. So I'm a little mad because I just found out today. I was today years old when I found out I'm not even in the category of being a darn millennial, and I just thought I was. I'm still Gen X for some reason. I don't know why, but I guess I'm that Aquarius Pisces type. You get if you're late something in the season, you kind of fall in between. So, but I relate to the millennials, and it's crazy because one thing I love about you is, you have this religious training and religious leadership skill sets and all that kind of stuff. But with this Black Millennial Cafe, it keeps you relevant. It keeps you current. You keep it real all the time. And because of the work that you do, you have to be able to relate. You have to be relatable. So I want to talk about this pop culture thing for a minute. Since this is a part of your area too, how has pop culture driven literally everything millennials are attached to? So the way they dress, the way they talk, the way they just everything. How has pop culture just swallowed? We're talking about the game of life now. So we're looking at the game of life from a pop culture lens. That's how we're going to start out tonight, guys. Give me your take on this, Bree.
So I think maybe it's actually that pop culture culturally appropriates millennial experiences. And then sells it back to us. You know what I mean? Like they see, what are millennials like? Really? Let me package it. And then they give it back to us and say, now you got to do it because it's hot. I think that's really kind of what happens. And especially Black millennials. I have a t-shirt that I sell called, and I don't even know if I'm selling it anymore. But it says Black plus millennial equals cultural icon. And that's just the truth. Like, companies watch what we like, watch what we love, watch what we do and make our own, and then they manufacture it and sell it back to us and promote it as hot.
And it's sad because we constantly allow them to do this, and it's just, as old folks say, history repeating itself. But at the end of the day, it's like you said, they take what's hot, wrap it in shrink wrap, put a nice little bow on it, throw it back to us. Price hike the actual whatever it was. It probably cost $2.25 to make, and we go out and buy.
And they sell it for $43.
Uh-oh. Somebody, Jazz said you have a limited stock in that shirt.
And I bet you literally went to go look for me. Thanks, Jazz. But yeah, so
I just love, one thing I love about you is that you keep it relevant. Like, I've heard you, I've been around you long enough to see you in rooms of where you have some baby boomers in the audience, but then I've seen you in some other rooms where these is bloody shoes. Like you keep it popping with the pop culture, no matter what you're doing. So whether you're on a platform preaching by yourself, or whether you're on a panel with other preachers and leaders who may not be knowledgeable in certain things or certain areas, they think they're throwing you a curveball when you're already prepared to discuss, talk about it, talk circles around them, and then back that thing up and do it again if I got to do it for a second time. That's one thing I just love about you, my friend, is you have the knowledge, and you're able to walk in rooms and talk politically in one vein, and then talk pop culture in another vein. A lot of people don't have that, the way they're able to have a conversation across age spans like that. So I tip my hat off to you, because that's not an easy task, and you do it with such grace and such elegance and so much power that and I'm pretty sure you've seen people try to do what you do, and because it wasn't their sauce, it wasn't packaged correctly, it fell on deaf ears. So I thank you for just doing what you do the way that you do it, and you just you make it pop, my friend. That's just what you do. Thank
you, but don't forget that's an itinerary versus destiny thing, because don't forget, I know politics from undergrad, and then from when I wanted to pursue the PhD. You know, I did church state studies, so that's politics and religion. And, I know counseling, so I know how to like come closer and draw people in from having a MDiv with the concentration in pastoral care and counseling. I mean, so there are a number of things. So when I had this data, this is how sad that is, because, data isn't that valued in the Black culture. Like, we don't talk about that very much. And so I didn't even know it was a big deal until production companies were calling me. Talent agencies, the top talent agency in the country called. Politicians called. Churches called. Because I'm the only person in the country who holds it.
Trademark, patent, all of it.
Yeah. So I'm exclusively, like I tell people, like people are like sometimes people will pretty much want to be me, and they decide that they're gonna do something like what I do, and that's fine in Jesus' name. And I just, say this, I don't have to do this forever, but you can never talk about it without mentioning me. I am indeed the foundation. Somebody was on social media talking a lot of trash, saying, I'm just sorry, but I gotta say this. Reverend Bree is not the gold standard for Black millennials. I actually am. I'm as gold standard as Gold Medal Flower, because I did the foundational work. Now, if you want to be the gold standard, then you go out there and you start a company and you do your research research over 1,000 Black millennials. Hold a host of small groups, then go to in-depth interviews, put your money into a company, leave everything you have, never get a loan from a bank. Like, come on now here. Like, I did this organically and genuinely and prophetically. I was not somewhere trying to create a master plan to, take advantage of anybody or to make a lot of money. Now, it happened to have become lucrative, but I didn't know it would be. I really didn't. I was just trying to do the work. Like Katie Geneva Cannon says, Dr. Katie Geneva Cannon, I was trying to do the work my soul must have.
It's crazy, because you had no idea that this would take off like this, and you just honestly, you probably started out just doing your let me do my little research to finish this degree out, out the behind my name, keep it moving, and you never had an idea that it would blow up like this. Because a lot of times we do these dissertations and we never do anything with them once we get them done, and they actually sit on shelves behind us, like where you are right now. You did just sit on the desk, sit on the shelf, and collect dust, and you never able to even extract anything from it to do a proposal, to do a workshop, or anything like that. So what you've done is you've done a Herculean job of just making this thing relevant. I'm gonna keep this thing moving. When you think about these millennials, I know you get this all the time. So because you are a reverend, I gotta throw this question out there. Just to get your input on it. So millennials, you know, we have this religion versus spirituality conversation all the time. What's your take on both? And in times like these that we live in, does one overshadow the other? Now you can look at it from your Reverend Bree, or you can look at it from your Black Millennial Cafe, but just give me your take on, because I know a lot of millennials struggle with this. And we're talking about the game of life tonight. So in life, many millennials grew up in church. Many millennials grew up in church at Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Saturday school. And now they're at a place, especially going through this pandemic, they're getting used to cyber church. They're getting used to all these other different things. So what's your take on it?
Well, let me say this. I am the lead researcher for the State of the Black Church study for Barna Group right now, and we just got new data in. It's unpublished. I won't give you the numbers, but I will tell you that surprisingly, I've seen this thing where people are saying they are religious now and not spiritual. You'll see that people will say this now, and I was like, what that mean? Like, who want to even be associated in that way, you know, to be religious and not spiritual? But there are a number of people, especially on my favorite show, Married at First Sight. I'm missing it for this because I love you. Okay.
I appreciate you.
And so what's happening is people have even acknowledged, millennials are now beginning to acknowledge that the standards and practices of Christianity are good, and they're not always wanting to participate in the spiritual acts, the spiritual part of this. So I think we may be getting to the point where we're going to see the pendulum swing. People will say, I will take the standards of the faith without participating in the sacraments of the faith. Yeah. But it used to be everybody wanted to be spiritual. Like, I just spiritual, right? I just spiritual.
Not alone. Let it be spiritual, you know.
Right.
But Bree, okay, realistically, we're talking about this thing. Do you think it's because let me put the disclaimer. This is she's talking from a research perspective, guys. She's done the research. That's why I asked her the question. Do you think that it's mainly also because of, how do I say this nicely? Ineffective slash non-transparent leadership that may be causing the millennials to kind of swing with this pendulum?
Yeah, you know, I think we're at a place where it is difficult sometimes for us to follow the leadership. I always tell people, ain't nobody got no problem with Jesus. It's the ambassadors. You know, the problem ain't actually with the faith. We just have poor ambassadors out there.
You know, it's funny you say that, because it's people like Patrice Woodbine. I mean, Reverend Patrice Woodbine. That she was an ambassador on that show called P Valley, but she's an old nasty gutter snipe, and I still want that baby money back. But it's the ambassadors.
Mercedes should have gone and said, "You're gonna give my money back, or I'm gonna take it out your windows. I'm gonna take it out your wheels. I'm gonna take it out this building." Like, every time she looked up, I'd be busting windows out her car until I she had spent $20,000 in repairs. What she wouldn't do is play with my money like that. Like, first of all, let me just say this, and I know this ain't even real, but that woman, her stuff can't prosper. If stars write this and she prospers, that's just trifling. And it ain't biblical. And let me say this too.
Yeah, this is why this is my friend now. This is why this is my friend, because we have conversations like this all the time.
I have been wondering though, because like, did you watch Boomerang last season?
Did you
see the preacher on there? And they be like, praise be, praise be. It was like he was the lamest. Like, I actually sent a tweet to Lena Waithe and to Halle Berry, and like, y'all killing us. Like, he was like,
they could have had Reverend Leon Lonnie Love from Martin on there or something.
Might as well have. Like, they were like, you gonna drink from the devil's juice? Like, he was like otherworldly. Like, he couldn't even exist around his friends because he was supposed to be the preacher. And I was just tripping. I'm like, this is not real. Like, and then like, as soon as he says something, they say praise. Have you ever heard anybody say praise be?
Nope.
Where did this come from? They ain't making us look good. And between them stars and Greenleaf, we ain't got a chance out here. No young preacher.
So if you just tuned it in, we're talking about the millennials and how this religion versus spirituality conversation is going. And Reverend Bree brought up a great point of how a lot of millennials are in this space of religion versus spirituality because of how we're portrayed on television. You have shows like Greenleaf. You have shows like, I love the show, but P Valley, that Pastor Woodbine, she just burns me up. You have what was the show? Boomerang with Lena Waithe, and there's a bunch of other shows that make you constantly wonder what's actually happening within the lives of these people that are our leaders. And now we're in a whole virtual space of cyber church and things like that. That this is my opinion, I don't see a lot of millennials going back to church when this is over. They're going to become so indoctrinated with watching it on TV, which I'm still trying to get that myself. I need to be amongst the fellowship of the people to be able to.
Come on, Patrice.
You know, somebody say, come on, Patrice. You know what?
I don't want to Patrice and no Allie. You hear me? I got something for. I'm going to do what Mercedes did. And then that bad wig. I said, now listen.
Hey, Richard, good to see you, man. It's also because of double live at home. Said it.
Yeah, I had to bring it with you so I can show that everybody ain't like Patrice.
But Richard, you're right. It also shows double lives at home. The shows are quite quite realistic. My mom made a point one time. I was hipping her to Greenleaf, and she said, "Dang, do the family have to have a drink every episode?" And I thought about it. I said, well, dang, you're right. They do got the Greenleafs like throwing them back every episode with some sort of alcoholic libation but it's real. I think Greenleaf for me was the most realistic story.
I don't know, Calvin, like that much drama? Seriously?
The drama we don't see.
No. Now listen.
But
I know we got
but remember, I'm on the outside looking in. You don't work in that vein. I ain't worked that.
That's what I'm saying. No, I'm for real. I ain't never seen no pastor with that kind of stuff. Like back to back to back to back. Like it's like you always bring out a new dead body. But I also wonder sometimes how Oprah feels about the Black church. Because I do think thank you, friend. I appreciate that.
Oh, you had laid. Yeah, it's laid. cousin, I had laid tonight. Cause she. That's why she's my friend. She. Oh, we just say Patrice Woodbine is.
Now, what I'm gonna say is, I'm not gonna pretend like Patrice Woodbine is not real. I actually think people exist like her. I think the Green will take it too far. You know what I mean? Like, but let me say this. Patrice Woodbine is somebody that most of us don't know. Patrice Woodbines exist. Don't nobody know her church name but her family.
It's Breath of Life. It's the Breath of Life Tabernacle.
Yeah, full gospel tabernacle, holy church or something. I was like, that's how you know. See, let me tell you something. That's how you
this is why millennials struggle between religion and spirituality.
You want to be full gospel. You want to be holiness. What you want to be?
Hey,
but
she gonna be
Patrice Woodbines exists, but you barely know of Patrice Woodbine. You know, they got like 7 members. They might as well go in their living room. It's all family members because everybody else walk away. Everybody knows she messy. Everybody know, she be down there, being trifling. So I won't say they don't exist, but we don't know them. That's not mainstream.
Yeah.
And the Greenleafs, if you would have given me a third of the Greenleaf drama, I would have said, okay. But Greenleaf don't stop. They don't stop getting it. Like they just.
Did we say don't stop getting it at the same time? Did we say it at the same time? Yeah. That's why we friends. Don't stop, get it. Look. Okay, I'm okay. We through with them for now. So in this pandemic, what do you think are some areas millennials have become challenged since it started? So you work with them, you hear the conversations, you're invited to the table to talk. What are some areas that they've struggled in since this thing has started?
Without doubt, relationships. Remember, Black millennials are the most degree generation the country has ever seen. We're also the most underemployed. But because we're the most degreed, we are able to keep jobs that allow us to be able to work from home, you know, not so much essential workers, you know, and essential workers, what I'm saying, the ones who are having to subject themselves to danger. And so relationships, you know, the lack of millennials right now are desperate for social interaction. And I'm actually, how do I say it? I'm actually very concerned because Black millennials, because that's what I'm concerned with. Black millennials are being set up to make some really bad decisions right now. You know, because loneliness is something else. You know what I'm saying? And loneliness kind of encourages you to do things so that you don't feel lonely. And people think I only talk about sex, but I'm talking about more than sex. I'm talking about risking your life to go hang out in a place that you know is dangerous amidst COVID, or going back to friendships that you have outgrown and have no business in because they, you know, are close enough. Or, you know, my ex called me. I was like, well, you know, it is kind of.
You better remember why that ex is now or why.
I had to put that phone down. I said, let me stop. So I had to let it go. That's my ex twice removed. But I just feel like, you know, we're being put in some really uncomfortable situations. Some people go back to abusers. Yeah, some people who are, you know, Christians and to be abstinent won't be able to maintain that right now. And it has less to do with discipline and more to do with the fact that they want some kind of social interaction, and the lack of any social interaction then makes sex a lot more appealing. Or if you're messing with somebody or used to mess with somebody and that's all they want from you, and that's the only way you can have social interaction, you go for it and you give them what they want so you can have a place to go or someone to talk to. I think this is going to put us in a very dangerous place. And we will come out of this having to live with some decisions that loneliness brings.
And to even add to what you're saying, just I don't even know what is diagnosed as, but even just the lack of touch. So for me, I'm so used to giving people a dap or, you know, giving them a hug when I see them or whatever. But now it's more like, hey, just elbow me, you know, stuff like that. The things that we took for granted that we can't do, you know, much anymore because I see you, Dana. That might not just be it's a bunch of us. Like, we're all struggling in different areas. Since this thing has started, you know, I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today, and you would think that people would have saved something up, and he's like, "Well, no, I ain't saved nothing up. Like, I'm still paying my bills and doing this and doing that and this hustle and bustle like we're not in a pandemic." And I'm like, "Yo, like there should have been some time to." You've been given enough downtime to strategize, to recalibrate, to think outside the box even more, work on your creativity, things like that, which is how this show came about.
For degreed millennials, though. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, as much as we are the most degreed, we have to remember everybody still doesn't have that same type of access. You know what I mean? To have the luxury of figuring out your next harebrained scheme. You know what I mean? Right. Like, so I think that's what we're experiencing. I think another thing is going to be a housing deficit. You know, people will be kicked out of their homes eventually. And I think we're going to see more intergenerational households. You know, I think at one point, you know, we had multiple generations living in a Black household anyway. And then it became the sign of success for you to be able to live on your own. And I think we'll go back to intergenerational or, you know, multiple families living in one dwelling space. And I don't think that's going to be bad. I was just talking to my friend Ryan about that. I don't think that's going to be the worst thing that comes out of that. As a matter of fact, I think it might be one of the better.
It's going to help people get back to the family unit. And it's funny you brought that up because I work here in DC in a school, and I am the homeless liaison for some of the students that I work with. And so for me, I had to change my way of thinking because where I come from, homeless is homeless. I mean, I'm from Dallas. I've been homeless. When I was 17, my house burned down. We lost everything in the house, so I had nowhere to go. I was homeless. Whereas here in DC, in this area, homeless just means you're in transition. So if I'm your brother and I get put out and I come stay with you, I'm labeled as doubled up. And that's how they classify homeless in DC. I've always been homeless meant I didn't have nowhere to go. Only place I can go is to a shelter, but here is different. The way they think about and label homeless, it just means you're in transition. So if your brother gets put out with his children and come to stay with you, you're homeless. If you get put in this place, you're homeless. So I had to change the way I thought here. And when you said the thing about the family unit becoming a whole lot tighter, when family is doubling up now and staying more together, it puts you back in the space of, yes, 11 of you in the house, but you're able to have conversations. You're able to have dialogue. You're able to have dinner with each other. You're able to come up with little fun, creative games. Huh?
You're able to get by financially a lot better. You know, you're able to save money. You're able to put, you know, Pookie through school because, you know, he got in. And, you know, he could go and stay. And so I think those things are things we should not ignore. Now, I have one messy thing to bring up tonight.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So we all saw Niecy Nash, right?
Right.
Niecy Nash just got married to this young girl. The girl is young, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to know how. I've been searching the internet for how old this girl is, because I think that's a thing we should not ignore. Mm-hmm. She married this young girl, right? And we know that she's married to Jay. She announces in December she's getting a divorce. In March, I think they filed the paperwork, and I don't remember if it's finalized in March or in June. Either way it goes, if a man did this to a woman, we would not be celebrating in this way. He would be a dog. He would be trash. That's why black men ain't. That's why you got to leave black men alone. I just don't know that we would celebrate. So let me make it clear. What I'm not concerned with is the fact that it's a woman. So that's not my concern. My concern is take away sexuality and just think about the fact that this woman was married to this man. Jessica Betts, from what I understand, sang at their wedding.
So you and I talked about this last week, and I try to keep up with pop culture. Oh, wait a minute. I'm so bad at Jasmine. Hey, Dana, I'm gonna come back to you. So we talked about this last week, and to be quite honest with you, I'll share it again. I missed the whole divorce with the dude with her ex-husband. So I missed all of that. And you're actually the one that told me she divorced her husband, and then now she's married to the young lady named Jessica. But I feel like you are so right. If this had been a man do this, there's this double standard of the world that we live in. We're talking about the game of life tonight, guys. There's this double standard. Yeah, Dana, you missed it. Yeah, Google it. There's this double standard where you're right, Bree. If this had been a man do this, it would have been received totally differently. And the fact that the young lady was a part of the wedding party when she married that gentleman, and now that's the person that you end up marrying, I was floored by it. And
don't forget, she sang at her wedding on Claws. She did something else with her. So they've been friends along the way. I mean, and whether or not it's true, we would have definitely not let anybody believe that the man didn't have anything going on, that he didn't cheat on his wife, that I mean, and I'm not talking about.
There was a quick transition from A to B.
If you believe they started going together in December when she announced it,
it's like the young lady that gets pregnant and is pregnant at the wedding, but doesn't want to tell anybody. And the baby's born at 9 months and not after the 1 year mark of when they got married.
No, the baby is born at the 7th month, and they tell us that the baby was premature. And that baby is fat.
I'm trying to work with something, and you're not helping.
I'm not gonna help. That baby be big as hell. We're like, what? Premature. No. That ain't premature. It's 11 pounds, 7 ounces. Ain't nothing premature about that.
Look, let me get back on my, because you know you taking me off a script all the time.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to know it.
But no. Oh, yeah, and y'all chime in. Y'all chime in.
Yeah,
Dana said, Dana said that was ongoing or continuing. Yeah, Dana, you're right. That thing was ongoing or continuing, and it's just now manifested to a wedding dress.
Hey, this is my girlfriend. She said it's her wife. I said, oh, we in overtime here.
Let me see. Okay, Bree, let's lighten it up. Self-care in this pandemic. What are you some suggested ways to take care of yourself? What are you doing?
Man.
Because you was doing something and I ain't got a care package yet.
What I was doing?
I saw you baking something and I ain't got nothing sent to me.
That's why I got a double chin. I've been baking and cooking and Bluebell did not take a stand on Black Lives, and they were responding to everybody else. I asked them 3 times what they thought about Black Lives. They wouldn't answer me. They kept skipping over me, answering others. I had to let Bluebell go. And I ain't never really eaten another ice cream in my life because I'm from the South, and we know the Bluebell.
We grew up on Bluebell, the best ice cream in the country.
Okay, that's how the commercial said. Okay, but
they said massage is twice a month. Dana, I got to get there. What you doing?
I can't. I'm scared of COVID. I can't. My massage therapist comes to my house normally, and I'm just scared.
Put your mask on, spray them at the door when you get there. Breathe. How you not? You have to take care of yourself in this pandemic.
No. Do you know when I started getting takeout?
When? Last week?
Last week of July was my first time getting takeout.
Okay, baby steps. Okay. It's coming. So you baking?
Massages until I got a vaccine. Like, but no, Dana, I know how amazing that is. But here's the thing: my massage therapist, I be seeing her working out, and I'm scared them droplets be getting on her. So I be seeing her on social media working out.
A new one.
No, but I love her. She's so sweet. She's so sweet. I gotta keep her.
I forgot, Jazz. You know what you show, right? I forgot.
Listen.
Breathe,
I gotta, I got a grandbaby too. I gotta keep my grandbaby safe.
So besides binge watching shows, baking, spend time with the grandbaby.
Baking, cooking, and you know what? I sleep as much as I can. I'm like,
because you can't really go in it. Well, you can, but normally you're on a plane headed somewhere to present or talk about something, but you get to do amazing things like this from home where you're able to stay home and spend time with your family.
Very new.
Yeah, this that new. Like this is new.
I think when it happened in March, Calvin, I was only gonna be home 48 hours consecutively at a time. 48 hours at a time consecutively. Like I was gone. I was getting it for March and April, and it didn't happen.
6 months later. 6 months later.
6 months later, that I've learned that a God who promised is indeed faithful. And I had people who would call me, Calvin. They'd be like, "How you doing? Because I know you make most of your money on the road." And I'd be like, "I'm okay." And I would never make most of my money in your face. Like kind of call me like I know you about to be broke, and I could have been, but I want to make it clear it's because of the grace of God. But don't call them fake concerned.
Purpose say Reebie just said, and she's so famous. Yeah, she Hollywood now, Robert. She Hollywood now.
That's a lie. When you call me, what I do? Answer. I saw you when I was in DC. No Hollywood.
I had to pull. I had. Some friends you can't engage the conversation by a text message. So if you ask them a question, they will respond back, and it's kind of hard to read between the lines of the text message. So I'm one of those friends where if I can, I'm gonna just pull up on you. So Bree came to DC a couple months ago. I didn't even tell her I was coming.
Right before, huh? It was right before.
This was right before COVID. I just had to pull up on her. I had to go see my friend, had to lay eyes on her like the old folks say, make sure she was all right. She done made me sit there while she signed every book, took every picture. Then we had to go get something to eat. Bree, I got to get up in the morning. I did not care. I done stayed out because I'm a real friend. I done stayed out all night with her, just hanging out. And I'm at work the next day like this. But that's what friends do. They'll pull up on you and let you know that they care, that they love you, because they ain't seen you in a while. They just want to make sure that you, all right, that's what we do.
That's true. But I had a meeting the next morning, and we went to this place that had fresh Pop-Tarts. Like, they made the Pop-Tarts.
You went to Ted's Bulletin. Ted's Bulletin.
Can you please send me some Pop-Tarts? I'm not even joking. Please.
Like,
I want so bad. I'm going to send you the money. I'm going to cash up you. Them Pop-Tarts. I ain't forgot them Pop-Tarts.
Ted's Bulletin.
And I don't eat them grocery store one. But I was just like, a Pop-Tart? I almost made some.
Ted's Bulletin is all right. Look, okay, I got one more question. I'm gonna let you go.
Ted is what is he talking about? What city were we in, Pervy? He is lying.
Pervy is come on, P. Tell it all, P.
What city are you talking about? Tell us the lie.
My boy. Okay, Reed, last question. And I'm gonna let you go.
No. You listen. Tell her I pay for her flight and she'll deliver. I don't want no Corona Pop-Tarts on that plane.
I'm not playing.
Plane, then you're gonna bring Corona with you.
I'm not playing with Jasmine.
I know. I should have you send me some, huh?
I got you.
Thank you, Pervy.
That's my brother there. Pervy, I'm coming for you, man. Just know we gonna talk, Pervy. I'm coming for you. Love you too, man. Okay, Bree, last question. You know I gotta throw you a curveball. I gotta throw you a curveball because you Bree. I don't have talking points to this thought, but I'm gonna let you do your thing. So
thank you, Dana. Okay.
Insecurities in ministry. What's your take on this? It happens a lot. You've done a lot of research with Black millennials. You worked in several churches. You've been on several platforms. What's your take on this thing? We're talking about the game of life, guys. The game of life. We've talked about a bunch of different topics from different lenses, from pop culture to millennials in a pandemic. We had the religion versus spirituality conversation, done self-care. We talked about itinerary versus destiny. And now I want to drop this insecurities in ministry thing. What's your take on it, my sister?
So insecurities in ministry.
I really believe that Patrice Woodbine is insecure of Mercedes, and Mercedes could really get saved and draw a whole bunch of people to the church down in Chucalissa, but her mama's scared. Let me stop and let you. Okay, I'm stopping.
There's some abuse going along in that the fact that she runs back to Patrice, you know what I mean, for too much penance, right? Like, and this is who she goes to ask about, you know, what God requires of her. And there's some abuse there because you keep running back to your abuser. So I think we're going to find out a lot more. We already see that she had stuff in her name at 3. Now, I'm not talking about nobody mama because sometimes people do it because they really need to. Patrice Woodbine was trifling. But insecurities in ministry, I think, you know, they have and are continuing to drive people away from ministry. There have been a number of times when I was just like, man, I can't do this no more. You know, this just isn't for me. And the reason is because someone was insecure enough to do something harmful to me. And it just made me reconsider whether this was the atmosphere I wanted or the field I wanted to operate in, because it's like any other field of competition. You know what I mean? Like, I know one guy, you know, I do Black millennial. I started off doing Black millennial research. Now I do all things research for Black communities, right? And I had someone who was telling somebody, yeah, I'm writing my dissertation and I'm about to pretty much like put me out of business. I was like, but you don't know my business. Right. Like, what are you talking about? Like, why are you going around? If your goal is to beat me, you ain't got no goal. And I think too many times we see what somebody else is doing, so, oh, I'm going to do that. No. you'll be better off doing what God is requiring of you, doing the thing that your soul must have, because I think there are too many cookie cutter things in ministry.
Right.
You preach somewhere, you work on staff, you go be a pastor, you know what I mean? You try to work at a school, blah, blah, blah. And I think that alone stops us from becoming who we could or should be in ministry. And the only models we have is to want to do what someone else is doing, which is it's not bad to admire somebody, but we get to the point where we want to knock that person off, you know what I mean? Like that platform in order to get there. And this is one thing. If you don't know that there's room at the cross for everybody and there's room at the table for everybody, you can go ahead and do something other than ministry, because you don't even have the fundamentals down, that there is no lack and there's no scarcity in God, that there's always enough, that God is never out of options, opportunities. You know, we don't seem to believe that. And so my thing is, whenever you get to the point where you're insecure enough to harm another person, I have to wonder if you believe in the God that you preach about or that you serve, because sometimes it's not just the preachers. I mean, I've seen it on the volunteer level, you know, where somebody wants to be the hot shot. They want to be the pastor's favorite. They want to be the ministry superstar, you know? And I think it really comes from the fact that in the Black community, sometimes the church is the only place where we are somebody.
Use and all that kind of stuff. And we become territorial. Some people become so territorial of it that it's just, this is all they know. All they know is church. They're there every Sunday, every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. This is my church. I'm gonna live and die here. This is all I know. And you become territorial. You basically become a spiritual hoarder of all of everything, that you become so insecure in the fact that I'm doing too much. Let me push back. Let me give somebody else a chance. Let me let somebody else be the lead usher on the floor today. Let me sit down this Sunday because my spirit not right. let me fall back.
It's about scarcity. My pastor was just installed at my home church, which is Antioch here in Dallas, and I was watching. I saw Summer Washington, and I was like, Sarah! And I got tweeted her like, I see you. Like, you think I was like, I grew up there too. Quanisha grew up there too. Lydia grew up there too. Why Summer? Like, you think I cared? I was just happy that, you know, good old school was represented. And in the younger generation, like there's no reason for me to have an issue, you know what I mean, with someone participating. Like, and I said, because I was just so happy to see her. You know, we all grew up together. When Pastor Chris was our little baby, you know what I mean? Like Snaggletooth and all. And so for us to, and it also meant a lot to me to see that, you know, Summer's still there and still participating. And sometimes submission is hard for someone younger, you know? And just to see that she was there and honoring him, I appreciated that.
No, you're right. When you grow up some places, like, as we've all transitioned and moved on, it's like somebody's still there that knows the true history and that was in the trenches with me. And to just see if I see you, we all won. We all we were raised when one goes up, we all go up. So the fact that you reached out, I mean, I saw you when you commented, and then you reached out to her. That kind of stuff speaks volumes and keeps us going, especially in this particular space, as we transition and keep moving, and as we get older. Like I told somebody the other day, I said, I'm now the drunk uncle at the cookout. Like I'm in that age bracket now. Like, it ain't Uncle Joe no more. I'm in that age bracket now where it's like, okay, like
I'm not hot.
That's because I'm not a millennial. I found out today. I was 10 years old when I found out I wasn't a millennial. I missed it by 12 months. So yeah, I'm still a little saucy.
Thanks so much, Uncle Calvin, but I'm still hot in these streets. Let's make it clear.
Bree, look, tell the people how they can keep up with you. Tell us how to keep up with you. What's going on? What's coming down the pipeline? Go.
So I have webinars coming down the pipeline. I'm trying to teach people how to poll their own community. So I'm doing free webinars for that this month and next month. What else do I have coming up? You know, we have the State of the Black Church study that we're doing. I partner with the tech company. I just got, I don't know, it's tons of stuff.
This is a lot. So how can they follow you and keep up with you? Because you stay big.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at REV_BRI and on Facebook, Brianna K. Parker, or you can just go to my website, irunbmc.com. And we moving out here.
Oh, tell the people about the game with the
yeah.
Hold on. I'm sorry, y'all. This is my friend. I want to promote everything she got. Go to her website and buy her out.
Yeah, I have a game. Well, I have merch, right? So I have
merch. Merch. Okay, I'm sorry, merch.
Yeah, I still believe in the Black Church T-shirt, stuff like that. And then I have a card game called Growing Up Black in Church. And you get to it's just like a walk down memory lane where we get to like remember some of the stuff and crazy stuff that happened when we were younger and have a good time. But it's a card game. It's kind of like Black Card Revoked, but it's growing up Black in church. And yeah, it's I love it. I mean, it is mine, but I would love it if it wasn't mine.
Well, Bree, I thank you so much, my sister, for coming on tonight. You have been an amazing guest. We talked about a lot tonight, guys. Talked about the game of life from a bunch of different lenses. As always, she brings the heat, she brings the hot conversation, and she makes me look at things from a totally different perspective. And because I love her so much, I'll even allow her to throw a curveball in the midst of my dialogue. So that Niecy Nash thing was totally off the cuffs. And because we're friends, she can do that. Everybody can't do that, but because it's Reverend Bree, she can do it. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight for Dialogues with Doc. Please make sure you follow Dr. Parker at Reverend_Bree on all our social media platforms. Go to the Black Millennial Cafe on Instagram and follow her there as well. And please buy her merch. She has hot stuff and she does sign the books personally. I've seen her do it myself. Ain't no stamp to say thank you for buying. She hand signs everything personally with her black Sharpie, and she gets to going. Thank you guys so much for watching Dialogues with Doc on tonight. I'll be back next Wednesday. On next Wednesday, we're going to talk about the subject of HBCU Changed My Life. So I have some amazing guests coming on next week.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because Jasmine told me to tell you the games I have coming up. And one game I have coming up is HBCU or Bust. And the other one is Growing Up Black and Southern. So yes.
Growing Up Black. I'm sorry, Dana, I missed your comment. I'm gonna get you. Insecurities calls the one with them to see whether they have either failed, gave up, or forfeited. Great point. Again, they go back to insecurities in ministry. I love that, Dana. Guys, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. My sister has to go watch Married at First Sight, New Orleans, so I got to get her off of here. That's right, Married at First Sight, right? New Orleans.
Yes, it's my favorite. You never watched it?
No, not yet. And my friend Davon produces on the show, so I gotta get caught up.
Wait. Oh my gosh, really? I just found out.
Okay, bye y'all. I'll see y'all next week. Next week we're back at our regular time, 8 p.m. Next week's edition of Dialogues with Doc is an HBCU Changed My Life. I have some amazing guests coming on. I will see you soon. And Bree, stay on for me. Don't log out. Thank you guys so much.